Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you see the title, you see the fit, you know what it's all about today. We're talking about Spider Man. And first and foremost, I gotta say, what an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you gotta. We have multiple ways, you know, go to the theaters or go with the Pirates of the Caribbean. What a beautiful freaking movie. What a beautiful directed, what a beautiful cinematographical movie it is. It just looks like, it just really reminded me of the Insomniac Spider Man games. It's just so cool. Everything, bro. Come on, see the movie. See the movie. You got to. You got to. But the movie is really big in identity. You know who you are, what you do, how you present yourself to the world. And it's funny that we're talking about identity because the world doesn't even know who Peter Parker is. If you're not familiar with the story, I'm going to give you a brief background of it. In Far From Home, Mysterio outs Peter Parker's identity as Spider-Man. In No Way Home, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, makes a spell that everyone forget who Peter Parker is. Every moment with Peter Parker gets erased. Every memory, every story, every moment, did I already say that? Gets erased and is gone. And you can imagine how frustrating and isolating it must be to lose everyone you've ever known. Now we see this in a new movie. We see Peter struggling with the change and adapting to his daily life for maybe about a span of 3 years. And we're watching Peter's body deteriorate right in front of us. We see him deal with headaches, stress, irritability. These are all symptoms of a guy's emotional dysfunctionality. His emotions aren't regulated. Have you ever heard of the term "the body keeps the score"? Well, it's also a book, and in that book, in part two, specifically in chapter 6, "Losing Your Body, Losing Yourself," we're introduced to Sherry. Now, to give a brief background on Sherry, she is dealing with emotional trauma, abandonment wounds, and she lives a life alone with no close friends. That wasn't funny, sorry. And we can see how this is reflected with our friendly neighborhood Peter Parker. Not being seen, not being known, and having nowhere to turn to feel safe is not an easy thing to be dealing with. Chronic emotional abuse and neglect can be just as devastating as physical abuse. Now, I'm saying all of this because Sherry, who I've mentioned before, has a habit of skin picking. And aside from her emotional and traumatic past, she has developed the habit of skin picking because it's giving her a sense of relief, and it's giving her another feeling other than feeling numb. And so Sherry would rather have felt this painful sensation than to have it substituted with nothing at all. With Peter, he puts Spider Man above his humanly desires and nature. He throws himself into work, fighting crime in the streets of Gotham, in the streets of New York, sacrificing Peter for Spider Man's needs. He'd rather feel this pain instead of nothing at all. Sherry and Peter, they're both alike. They're merely just coping in the only way they know how to. At this point in time in the movie, we see Peter proactively choosing to ignore the changes his body is going through. I mean, talk about jumping through hoops and loops. This man is doing everything in his power to avoid it, where it gets to a point where it becomes unbearable and uncontrollable. I mean, he's dealt with enough stress that he becomes someone that's unrecognizable, and he's presented with a choice. It is to either rid Peter Parker and pursue Spider Man, or to give up Spider Man in pursuit of Peter Parker. And circling back to identity, one of the things that Peter is struggling with, he uses a mask, right? Spider Man's mask. And if we're talking about masks, what does it do? It covers your face. It conceals your identity. And there's so many masks that he could wear and put on and jump into all these roles in, but at the core of it all, he's still Peter Parker. But he makes the conscious choice to embrace both of the entities, both of the identities. He'll be the hero we all know and love. He'll carry the weight, he'll carry the burden, and he'll bear the greatest responsibility of having the greatest power. And also, he's just a normal guy. He's just a dude. He's just. Now, the identity of Spider Man isn't above Peter Parker, nor is Peter Parker going to be on a pedestal above Spider Man. His identity is rooted in his decision, in his choice. And I find the story of identity really, really beautiful because it's about you, it's about me, it's about us. Talk about we. Open my eyes, yeah. It was only just a dream. But no, really, in a way, we are all Spider Man. Think about that mom that works so hard for her kids. That sacrifices everything for her kids and is juggling so many things, trying to balance her work life, trying to balance, life outside of work, trying to balance everything in her life, just juggling. She is literally a hero, heroine like. It's amazing. And still, at the core of it, she's just an ordinary person, you know, in the greatest way possible. And you could also apply this to yourself when you're down in the dumps, wondering when the pain will end, barely hanging on by a thread, and you're still pushing to get through to the next day. That strength isn't natural. And you make it easy. You make it look effortless. You make it look like it was your nature to do it. That's the type of power that could carry millions. That's some superhero shit. And at the core of it, you are still an ordinary person. You're just like you and me in the best way possible. Yeah? Yesterday and today might have been the worst experience in your life imaginable. Imaginable! The worst pain ever! But tomorrow, you can always start over because it's going to be a brand new day.
Come out, come out, come out. Oh, oh, come out, come out. Oh.
If anyone ever feels like they want to take their life, don't do it, bro.